Richard Pryor has been hailed as the greatest comedian of all time, doing stand-up until about 1984, give or take a small amount of time, or at least that's what I thought. According to the witness accounts, there have been reports of Pryor continuing to stand up until as late of 2001, until the MS made it too difficult for him to continue performing. But why haven't you heard of him doing this? Simple. He was tired of touring. He just wanted to entertain people in his own terms, using whatever material he wanted. So he started to hit up some comedy clubs along with the lower west coast and even smaller places in Canada. It was incredibly difficult to not get noticed, but being the greatest stand-up ever, he wore more disguises that almost always worked. But occasionally his ego got the best of him, and he went a few times in incredibly rural areas without anything but covering his face, but there was a few times where he got witnessed accounts. There was only a willing person I was able to find, who tracked down his shows in around 6 months in the early 90s and again up from 1998 to 1999. Apparently the people who had tried taking photos when he was doing this shite unmasked and had get those people dragged outside and beaten senseless. Once or twice to the point of death and the act of simple. Remember how he kept doing the movies till the late 90s? Well, notice how his ego has what exploded there. Cast members in the late 80s were onward talked about this, and this was further down when it was brought up any attention to what he liked and talked about his show, how anyone is getting better by the day. Carl had been shuffling his shift around the time at least 30 years. He started getting angrier as the seats as he is not complaining about why everything in the world is wrong. And at that point, a few seats where they were censoring jokes by yelling at him to the crowd, and after these sets, he just walked back off stage as if he was a completely different person. Even more than curious, I've heard that he had one more concert privately, and now he leaked to Jennifer Lee, Pryor's final wife and manager, just last year. It was an hour and 22 minutes, and the file was titled RP Existence. According to the reports, it was a shot of a laugh factory with a camera that looked like if it was straight off from the mid-80s, and I had to hassle Jennifer Lee to release the details when she eventually broke down, and I then confronted her on the streets. Crying, she told me about the horrifying picture. It must have been taking place in 2001 or 2002. Richard simply made business tips for those years, even though they needed the assistance to get anywhere. After those hours at the Laugh Factory, it was him in the room with no real crowd, but him just standing right in front, an unplugged microphone in the darkness. Because of the day, he spent 30 or 35 minutes telling inaudible jokes and laughing hysterically to himself as he told them, and he looked like that he hadn't slept in days, and was almost skeletonly thin. 2 hours of this, though, the man snapped and started screaming words that I could barely make out, moving rapidly, as if he was going to have a seizure. He then fell off of his chair and face and was mobilely vehicle drift off into the distance. Flat on his face in clearly decomposed shape, he twitched, but then stopped as there was until a video had a minute or so left. I then noticed something horrifying, and as a tall man in a suit with some odd mask that just came into the picture stared at him, deathly still, as the video stops. She then said in tears when I mentioned that the screams had been particularly audible due to the area of the Laugh Factory, as she grew pale and stumbled away as if her heart had been shattered instantaneously. And that, my little pretties, was Richard Pryor, I guess you could say a lost episode creepypasta. I'm not entirely, sure exactly what to call this. So I'm just gonna call it a creepypasta. Just gonna sit here and say that. My final thoughts on the story? I'm gonna say it's a pretty well-made story. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I remember hearing, this Richard Pryor story, I think I heard it from, Dave the Useless, Mr. Creepypasta, and King Spook. I honestly really liked how this story went out. It's a pretty good story, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I first saw this, I honestly, heard other narrations, and I really do have to say, there is a couple things I have to say that I liked about the story, and that one of them being is, even though it's a short creepypasta, the thing that confuses me is that it's in a lost episode category. Like, I mean, maybe there's something that is missing there that I don't really, know for a full on fact on why it's in the lost episode category. I mean, it's kind of confusing because I don't understand why that happened to be the case. Like, why it was there. That's honestly something I don't understand. Now, if you guys know if I know Richard Pryor, I do know Richard Pryor in a couple of movies. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I did watch a couple of his movies at one point. But I think one of them being Silver Streak. That one was a good one, along with Blazing Saddles being another one. I also kind of like some other of his movies. I did watch a lot of Richard Pryor's movies back then as a kid. I still like them, although it is very unfortunate that he died, which I will be getting to that in a bit. But to be completely honest, I really do like how, the Richard Pryor movies went out. The most famous movie I remember him being in it, and that was the Muppet movie. Which I definitely would have to say that, Richard Pryor, he's a pretty good, crazy, person. Like, I mean, he's not, a serial killer or anything like that. He was mostly he was a comedian. And, it sucks that he died in 2005. I think he had cancer or something. Wait a second. I think I could be wrong. Yeah, basically, he, had, what was it? Yeah, like, he had, some kind of disease or something, which is very, unfortunate, but I would have to say that I really do like how his, how his jokes went out. Like, every time he, does a joke, his jokes would always be the best. Like, I've seen some other comedians, like, for example, Whoopi Goldberg and Eddie Murphy and a couple others. They do pretty good jokes, and I have to say Richard Pryor is no different. Like, I really like seeing comedians, perform for, like, a good bunch of years, then they, stop and that. So, there's definitely that. The grammar of this story is really well written, I'm not gonna lie. I really do think that the grammar of this story is, well written in detail. I do find it to be, quite amazing for how, everything went out. It's pretty good. Like, I do like how this story went out. It actually provided really good details on, why this is, like, happening over. Now, I really would have to say that this story actually had pretty good, concept for, what this story really was with the Richard Pryor story. Now, I kind of remember, seeing this story sometime, I guess, when I started getting into creepypastas. I never really had a chance to go ahead and read this one, and now I finally have the chance to read it. I'm honestly really stunned on, how well written this story is. Like, one thing for sure, and I can definitely say, is that they're all believable and really well made in a sense. And I really do like that, it had a pretty good, concept for this. Now, the man who assumed to be Richard Pryor, the one who is telling jokes during the tape, it's possibly not the real one. I think that's maybe what I'm seeing, but I don't really know. Maybe it might be just me, but you guys can let me know what your thoughts are on that. And I could definitely see, that this was an interesting creepypasta, but for some reason, I don't know what it is, but having it being a lost episode of it is kind of confusing. At least to me on that note, it's kind of confusing. I don't know why that was, the possibility, but for some reason, I see that to be the case. Maybe it might be maybe just me. I really don't know. But yeah, that I definitely would have to say is kind of, I think it's kind of weird, but at the same time, it's just a really I don't know. Maybe there's something about it that I'm not getting, that why it's like placed in a lost episode creepypasta category of a creepypasta. Like, it doesn't feel like a lost episode to me. But yet again, maybe that might be just me, but I really don't know. I really don't know, to be completely and utterly honest. So, yeah, maybe there's something about it that I'm missing. I really don't know. I really don't know. Maybe there's something about it, but yeah, either here or there. It's not a bad story. It's a good one. I'm not gonna lie. It's a pretty good story. It's not a terrible one, I will admit. Really do like how it all went out, and even though the storyline actually provided pretty good, well detail. And I do like how, the story had a good, concept going for. It's a really good concept for the story. I still really find this one to be enjoyable. It's an enjoyable story. I really do like it. So, I guess with that being the case, that being said, I'm gonna sit here and, say this right now. Like I'm gonna say right now, and like always continue to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm gonna give this one a 8 out of 10. It's a good, decent story. It was pretty well made in detail, but I really would have to say that the story of its own self, having it be, in a creepypasta, lost episode, that's very confusing. Like, I really would have to say it kind of has me confused a bit. Maybe that might be just me, but I really don't know. Maybe I might be missing something, but feel free to leave me know in the comments below. I think I'm missing something about why it's placed in the creepypasta category, because it didn't really, explain much about it, but you guys could probably explain what you guys think I should do, but yeah. Anyways, that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.